Imagine a perfect world where you can build a restaurant, open the doors, and make loads of money. Unfortunately, those days are over. It takes great leadership, hard work, and long hours to operate a successful restaurant. Together, we can make it happen. This is Restauranttopia.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of Restauranttopia. Brian, great to see you, brother. Listen, I'm good, man. I'm good. Hey, this is part 2 of our 3-part series with none other than Rev. Rev, how you doing today?
I'm great, and I just want to be clear. I know a lot of people listen to this show, but there is a video version of this, and I'm wearing different clothing because I want to super serve that audience. So I'm wearing what I consider to be a really fun Halloween shirt because that's the time of year that we recorded this episode. But if you're watching this, thanks for going the extra mile.
Rev,
you set the tone.
As always, you never disappoint. You never disappoint. Like that's it. Besides providing, copious amounts of amazing content, you never disappoint.
Oh, thank you. There's
no question.
Thanks for setting the bar so high. I'll have to keep that in mind every time we talk. No pressure.
Pressure's on now, buddy. Pressure's on now. So listen, Rev, last time we talked about customer acquisition. This time we want to shift over to customer retention. As you said last time, customer acquisition may be the hardest part of marketing, right? Especially for restaurants even, or any business for that matter. What about retention?
Retention is significantly easier than acquisition, but it's also 10 times more important, right? For a number of reasons. First of all, people have unlimited choices of where they can dine, right? And not just restaurants. I can cook dinner. I can go to a grocery store and get prepared food. I can get it from a C-store. I can do intermittent fasting and not eat. But the point is competition's pretty high, right? Competition's insanely high. And the other thing too that's super important is this is the hospitality business. We are trying to drive return trips. We need people to eat here more than once for this to be profitable. And it's a low margin business. If you're selling a cup of coffee, and again, for our video watch listeners, I'm holding up coffee. If all you're selling is a cup of coffee and your margin is 10%, holy smokes, how are you going to make money on $1.10? Retention is significantly important. And the way that I look at this, we're just diving straight in today. How do I prevent a leaky bucket? Once somebody has dined with me, whether they came to my restaurant and had an on-premise experience or they ordered it and had it at home, how do I get them to want to eat with me again? Super, super important. And look, there's a number of ways to do that. And I will tell you what the number one most important one is. Okay. Now, I host my own podcast called How Multi-Unit Brands Successfully Market at the Local Level. It's a really nerdy name, but I interview chief marketing officers and VPs of marketing from large enterprise brands. And I ask them the same question for 30 minutes. They answer how they market at the local level. So what I'm telling you is not only based on the own experience that I have as a consultant for restaurant, is what the big boys and big girls tell me, okay? This is the secret. The secret to retention is guest communication, okay? Get your message, your food, your brand, the things that you do in front of your guests in as many channels as they give you permission to speak to them in. Okay, I'm going to break that down. If somebody follows you on social media, you have permission to get your message in front of them. If somebody gives you their email address, you have permission to email them. If somebody opts into your text marketing, you have permission to text them. And so the most important piece for retention is communicating on a consistent basis through as many channels as you possibly can to people who have already had an experience with your restaurant, right? And think about this. This is how I like to explain it to people. We all know Taco Bell. I assume we all know Taco Bell. If we don't know Taco Bell, why are you listening to the show? Go get a chalupa. But why does Taco Bell buy a Super Bowl ad, do billboards, update their social media, send out an email, do text messages, and buy ads, right? Why do they do all those things? Because they know what you're about to know. It takes 7 impressions to get somebody to go buy a chalupa, right? 7, right? And the chances of somebody going to buy a chalupa increase when it comes to them through multiple different ways. If the only channel through which Taco Bell communicated was Instagram, it'd probably take 11 or 12 impressions, right? But because they're using omnichannel or multi-channel marketing, the impression is deeper. I'm driving down the street, I see the billboard, I open up Instagram, I see their post. I open up my email, I get the nacho fries, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, I need some Taco Bell right now, right? So as a restaurant operator, use as many channels as you can possibly manage without going bananas, right? To communicate to your guests on a consistent and regular basis. Okay, now, of all those channels, anybody want to guess here what the most important one is? Oh, you guys don't even want to fall on the pike. It's
It's the most important channel out of all those. When you say important, you say most effective.
Yes.
I would say either email or text.
Let's say email.
Text has the highest connectivity rate. It has the lowest opt-in rate. So that does not make it number one. It's awesome. For people that want to join your SMS list, man, text them. Absolutely. I'm a fan. But email. Email is the number one most effective guest communication tool in the marketing toolbox. Okay. Like I said, I've interviewed, dozens and dozens and dozens of really high ranking people that get paid really well to market for hundreds of locations. And they all say the same thing. It is email. I know from an independent operator perspective, you're like, oh my God, that's like such a huge battle. It's not. Okay. No. Stop the BS. Spend an hour, go into Constant Contact or MailChimp or whatever you want to use. I like MailChimp, and create a template. And it's pretty much plug and play. It's really easy. And if you're like, you don't even want to do that, hire somebody. Give somebody $100 to go build yourself a template. Call me. I'll do it. Create a template that is easy for you to change the subject, add a photo, give a call to action, have a button that links to your online ordering, and send it out every freaking Tuesday morning or Friday morning or whatever. I have a restaurant that I work with, and he's a smart guy. He's a good dude. Hired me to help him with marketing, and I was like, when was the last time you emailed your guests? And he's like, 6 months. I was like, what are you doing? We sent an email that week. It had an 89% open rate. 9 out of 10 people on his list gave permission. These people said, yes, go ahead, send me email. 9 out of 10 people that got that email opened it. And his one day, he got like 49 orders that day. He called me. Wow. He was like, I'm so sorry. You're 100% correct. Now, that's not going to happen every time you send an email, right? But like now he's like, we will email every Friday. I was like, that's right, you will.
Constant Contact says if you get 15%, you're a rock star, right? 15% open rate. And if you get like 10% clicks, it's like, oh my God, Hall of Fame. This guy generates 49 orders on 89% engagement. That's crazy.
Yeah, now look, every email he sent from then had, it sort of normalized a little. But the point being, like, for him, it opened his eyes and he was like, I do need to do this. And every restaurant needs to do this. Now, I'm going to give you guys a super deep level tactic. What day of the week is the best day to email your guests? I'm sure everybody's thinking that right now.
100%. That was my question.
I'm going to tell you a story before I give you the answer. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. So I work with a 4-unit brand here in New York City. Okay, they're primarily an on-premise, dine-in type brand, but they have a large delivery platform. I called them and I said, we're going to run a test. Like, okay, Rev, what do you want to do? I said, we are going to email every single person on our list every single day for 3 weeks at the same time, with the exact same email. Now, everybody that's listening is like completely skeptical, and so were they. But here's what we did. Every day at 4:00 for 3 straight weeks, 21 days, we sent the exact same email to every single person in our database. And it said, what can we get you for dinner? That's it. It had 2 buttons, one to make a reservation and one to place an online order. Like I said, they were primarily an on-premise brand. Okay. Yeah. The only thing that changed in those emails was the image. So one day we had a burger, one day we had French fries, one day we had a milkshake, whatever, but it was the same email, the exact same email for 21 days. Now, we learned 2 things from that process. Number 1, you can email your guests a lot more frequently than you think you can, right?
Interesting.
Our unsubscribe rate never went above 2%. Never.
No. So stop it. I'm thinking you decimated their list.
Nope.
Brian, do you remember, was it Jason that we had on, Jason Theron from ThunderTech, said that your unsubscribe rate should be somewhere around 10, 15% or something, or you're not sending enough emails?
I believe so, yeah.
It was fascinating, man. But I love what you're dealing out here, Rev. This is amazing.
Okay, now here's where we get to which day of the week should I email my guests. Here's what we learned. In looking at the data of emailing our guests every day, the exact same email for 21 days, okay, here's what we learned. It was really hard to switch somebody's habit on a day that they weren't going to order a comfort food, right? Mm-hmm. So most people would think like, oh, I want to get more people to order pizza from me on a Monday. That's a worthy thought, and that's a worthy thing to try to work. But you know what? For people who are not going to order comfort food on Monday, getting them to choose a pizza instead of a salad is fool's errand. However, getting people, in this case, they were primarily a burger brand, getting people to choose our comfort food versus another restaurant's comfort food on a day that they were going to order comfort food was really easy. Okay? So what does that tell you? If Friday or Saturday is your busiest day of the week, you should email on Friday or Saturday. It is really hard to get people to change their habits, but it is really easy to double down on what works. Okay.
I want to fortify this real quick. We were talking with Josh Copel from LA, and he was talking about this. And we spend so much energy as restaurateurs trying to make Monday and Tuesday busy. We're trying to get people off their couches to come to our restaurants. And it's like, you're not going to disrupt that buying behavior, but why not worry about turning your $10,000 Saturday into a $15,000 Saturday? And then leave Monday and Tuesday alone. Stop wasting your energy. Of course, put some energy in it. Don't give up entirely. But the really where the thing is, Friday and Saturday aren't good enough. Even though they seem amazing, they can be better. Double down there.
What happens if you lose a Saturday? Oh my God, you don't pay rent for the month? Like, no. You have to buckle down on what works. So to answer the question is, what's the best day of the week to email? Whatever your busiest day in the restaurant is. Okay. Now, what you should really do is email your guests every day the same email for 21 days and do a little bit deeper dive, or just take my advice, right? Email on your busiest day of the week. Now, if you really want to go for gold here, you should be emailing your guests twice a week. What is the other day? I don't know. Space it 3 days out. Tuesday? Here's what to think about that content. What do I put in the Saturday email? Again, if Saturday is your busiest day, what do I put in the Saturday email? The thing that you know that they're going to order, right? If you're a pizza restaurant, on Saturdays, it should be pizza, garlic, not hot wings, cheesesteaks, whatever, okay? And on Mondays, you can talk about an event you have coming up. You can talk about your merchandise. You can talk about online ordering. You can talk about your team. Use the other email for branding purposes. Use the busy day email for an action that you want somebody to take.
Are you segmenting these lists?
You want to get real serious?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I absolutely love segmenting. Okay. Now this is a little bit harder. Okay. Again, if you're an independent operator and you're like, this just sounds like a headache, hire somebody to do this for you. But yes, I would absolutely segment. And what does that mean? Okay. Let's say that you have somebody who orders from you primarily for lunch. Okay. They're not a dinner guest. Maybe they work near your store, right? But they don't live near your store. So they're a lunch guest. Okay. And you have people that primarily order dinner. Okay. If you can segment your database and email those people at opportune times, like if you can email the lunch people at like 10 a.m. and you can email the dinner people at 3 or 4 p.m., that is a boss move. Be right place, right time. Now, here's what I think is better than segmentation, and that's automation. Okay, there's 2 key automation moves that I recommend every restaurant do. Again, if you don't think you can do this, hire somebody. First one is called a welcome email flow. What that is it takes everything that's cool and awesome about your restaurant and your brand, and it puts it in their email inbox where their eyeballs are all day. Okay? If my only experience with your restaurant is an online order, like I've actually never walked through your door, like, how do I know what's cool about you when I got a delivery bag and in a single-use container? Like, how is that in a hospital? How is that communicating what's cool about what you do? It's not, right? It probably cooled down here on the way. And so now my impression is like that. Ugh. Here's what you do. You go build a welcome email flow. Okay, now a welcome email flow is 6 to 7 emails that trigger the day after the first time somebody enters your database. So they place their first order, they sign up for your email blast, whatever. On that way, on the next day, they get email number 1. Okay. Then 5 days later, email number 2. Then 5 days later, email number 3. Then 5 days later, so on and so forth. Right. And each one of those emails is 3 to 5 sentences at the max, telling me something about your brand. Email 1 is about the business, or maybe it's about the family. Maybe it's about how you were founded, what you're, tell me about the business. Okay, email 2 highlights an item. What's the number 1 thing everybody likes to order from you? Email number 3 is another branding moment. Email number 4 is like what makes you special. Email 5 is highlighting a menu item. Email 6 is highlighting a menu item. And then email 7 is like, what's the other thing? Right? Is catering really important to your business? Are you the place where people go to watch the local football team? Are you a Cleveland Browns bar? Like, what is your thing? So use a welcome email flow. Put everything that's cool about your brand into my inbox in the first 30 days that I haven't experienced. Now you're like, why? Research shows that restaurants who have a welcome email flow get 30% more 30-day returns than those that don't. Right? And the highest way to affect loyalty and lifetime value at restaurants is to get people to dine with you at least twice in the first 30 days. Right? You're going to get way higher stickiness.
Wow.
Is that helpful?
Amazingly helpful. In MailChimp or Constant Contact, what do they have it basically set up to do that? So
100%.
And
both of those solutions have an automation flow in there.
So is that what it's called, automation flow?
Mm-hmm. Automation. Now, I said there were 2. I said there were two. You want the other?
This is great.
You want the other one?
Yeah.
It's called a lapsed guest flow. Okay. What happens when somebody hasn't dined with you in 60 days? That's a lapsed guest. We want to get them back in, right? Or 90 days or 75. You got to look, if you're a coffee place, it's 2 weeks, right? Yeah. If you're a steak restaurant, it might be 3 months. If you're a pizza place, it's, 30 days, whatever. You got to determine what your lapsed guest is. Mm-hmm. And whatever that time period is, passes, and they've not had a transaction, you send them a "we miss you" email. Okay. Now here's the key. Most people would be like, oh, should I put a discount in there? No. Absolutely not. They probably already love you and they just forgot about you, or they're busy, or they're doing something else. Remind them, hey, we miss you. It's been 30 days since you've been to, Farazzoli's Italian Kitchen, blah, blah, blah. Remind them. Now, if another 15 days goes by and they've still not dined, send them a second email. It's just like the welcome flow. It's 4 to 5 emails that happen from day 60 to day 90. We'll use that as an example. And the 4th or 5th email in that sequence, that's where the discount goes. So I've reminded you, and you still not come in. Okay, here's 10% off your order.
Like, how do I do that? So like I go to my favorite Philly cheesesteak place in town, and I order. How are they capturing to know that it's been 30 days that I haven't gone back?
So I would use a tool. There's a number of tools out there that will do that for you, that automate the process. My favorite is something called Bicky. Bikky. Not only will it be looking at your data on a 24-hour basis to make sure that happens, they'll also push that person over to MailChimp and trigger that flow. They'll just do it in the background, right? It's amazing. Yeah. But if you're like, I don't want to spend technology budget, I don't know why you would not think that way, but you could basically on Friday mornings go into Toast or whatever POS system you're using, right? And do a data analysis, download a spreadsheet of all your guests, and then you could trigger it by uploading it to MailChimp and Constant Contact and send an email. You could absolutely do the manual process. I don't want to do a manual process. I would use tools to automate it, but that's how you would do it.
If you get someone to slip through and they pay with cash, they're just going to slip through, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and in that case, like, you can't capture that person. Amen. Okay. But again, if you're doing the welcome flow and the LEPS guest flow and you're sending a weekly newsletter, you're going to stay top of mind.
And so you would say staying top of mind is maybe, aside from experience and quality of food and service and all that jazz, that's the single most important thing about guest retention.
I might say it's more important than anything else, right? And there's surveys out there, like research out there that says that guests will return to a restaurant even if the food wasn't great, if the experience was amazing.
Yep. I definitely believe that. One thing that I love about this strategy, Rev, is that you're taking the person out of the walled gardens of social media and you're connecting that direct line of communication. A friend of ours and a Cleveland guy, I don't know if you've ever read the book Content Inc., Joe Polizzi. But
I mean, I know who Joe is, but I've not read the book. So
yeah, he just talks about constantly moving your audience, and in this case, your customers, off of those social media platforms and to that direct communication, whether it be text or email list. And he's a big proponent of. All
right. Well, I hope that wasn't too big a knowledge bomb, but that's
no. I mean, it's still washing over me. Are you shitting me? Like that was good.
I think we're both sitting here kind of silent, just kind of milling over this shit. Like, oh my God, what did you just do to us?
Yeah, I mean, look, I went to FS Tech, and I don't know if anybody in this podcast knows what it is, but it's like the biggest. It's like the industry's #1 conference for food and technology, like where restaurants talk about tech for 2 days. Nobody here needs to go because I'm going to tell you exactly what I learned. Like, let me save you the thousands of bucks. All the big brands are doing the exact same thing. They are segmenting and automating email. And they're doing way deeper than everything I just told you to do. But based on my unexpert analysis, if you send a weekly newsletter, have a welcome flow and a lapsed guest flow, you'll be like 75-80% of what like McDonald's is doing. Right? As an independent operator, there are tools out there that can have you operating at such a high level that you can essentially compete with people who have multi-million-dollar budgets.
Yeah, that's staggering.
And I'll go one step further. You're 100% on point here, but you are a local independent operator, whether you have 2 units or 40. People want to connect with you versus connecting with the national brands. I have no interest in getting a Taco Bell email. But I'll tell you what, I am on probably 10 email lists for local independents because I love their food. I want to support them. They're in my community. They're supporting the high school teams. They're where I go. And that's the people I want to connect with. And I want to know when foods, different dishes are coming out or something's happening in the life of the operation. And those things are important to me.
Amen. So if I was an independent operator, and I practice what I'm about to preach here, okay? I actually go sign up for the email blasts of national chains that are near me because I want to see what they do. Mm-hmm. And then translate it to my local businesses, right? So like I have a Red Robin that's like 4 minutes from me. There's a Burger King in my town. There's a Wendy's in my town. I'm on all their email blasts because I want to see what they do because I'm going to model that behavior for my clients and my local independent operators.
You think they're like, Rev is really interested. He opens every email. He clicks through all the links. He spent a lot of time on page.
I mean,
all the clicks.
That is so. This is interesting. I'll do a little show and tell again for our digital our video viewers. I got this card from Arby's called a Meat Crafter. Okay, I'm Meat Crafter number 356. Okay, it's a titanium card. Okay,
yeah.
There's no barcode on it. There's no nothing. I got sent this because I'm so engaged with Arby's that they were like, we love you. We want you to know that for life, you are in the ultimate VIP club. And we don't know what that means, right? Like, here's a little card about it. But they're like, we want you to know that we appreciate your attention. Like, okay, great. So once in a while, I'll get an email like, hey, we're doing this thing. Do you want to come? Yes. So yes, I am highly engaged in some of these national brands.
Another trick that local independents can use. Find out who your super fans are. Engage with them. Constantly be in front of them. They're your advocates. You were talking about influencers. You still have micro influencers that have a fairly large circle of friends that are, they're looking for something to talk about. And your restaurant is that topic.
Yep. 100%.
And in all these email platforms you're talking about, whether it's Constant Contact or MailChimp, there's an incredible amount of data in there. You can slice and dice any way you want. It's super easy to manipulate. And these platforms are relatively inexpensive.
Yes.
Love it. Rev, thank you so much for being on today. This kicked butt.
My pleasure.
So
thank
cool. You. I love the tips, actionable with really granular takeaways that our local independent operators can use and implement tomorrow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm happy to help. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, brother.
Awesome.
Hey, this is a high quality pod. Thank you, everybody.
Take care.
Adios.
Thank you for listening to Restaurantopia. The gratitude that we have for each and every one of you spending your precious time to listen to this podcast is immeasurable. Please make sure to tell a friend about this podcast. And also, if you have any feedback for us, visit us on restaurantopia.com and drop us a line. You can also subscribe on your favorite place to listen to podcasts. Thank you and have a great day.
That was good.
Oh,
that was good.
You guys giving away all my secrets here.
Yeah, I know. That's what I feel like. I feel like the show notes is going to be like the Rosetta Stone of restaurant marketing.
You're basically going to be printing an ebook.